This is Rob Tobin for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined here today. We're in the lovely surroundings of New York and I'm joined by Joe Gallagher. How you doing, Joe?
Not too bad, mate. Enjoying the sights like yourself?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I just said to you off camera, I've definitely conducted interviews in some worse places. First and foremost, you're here, obviously, Callum Smith boxing Hassan and Dam on the Anthony Joshua undercard. When did you get out to New York?
Last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, we flew in, we've settled down, done a couple of training sessions, had a good day off yesterday, did a little bit of sightseeing and another good training session today. Callum's bang on now, we're ready to go for Saturday night.
Now, customary throughout Callum's career, he's not been much of a traveller, and then he went off to Jeddah, which was kind of a bit of a bolt out of the blue. Has the experience of going over there, different climate, different time zone, etc., do you think that's going to help you going into this fight?
Yeah, definitely. Before that, we fought in Germany against Holzgen, so I know it's only an hour's flight, it's still abroad. Yeah, but no, definitely the setup, being away at Jeddah was perfect. Same as this time, we've arrived with the camp. Each day people are arriving, the brothers arrive tomorrow and the camp swells up, but the first 4 or 5 days here, it's just having the nutritionist, the chef, the S&C guy and myself, and just making him switch on, doing the last bits of training camp and familiar with the surrounds and enjoying himself and looking forward to himself performing on Saturday night.
Now, I just mentioned at the start of the interview that you're obviously boxing Hassan and Dam. It was very late addition to the card, or not a late addition to the card, but very late announcement to the card. How did that affect, if at all, Callum's preparations for this fight?
No, the talks have been going on for some while now. We always knew that we were going to either be on Usyk's bill a couple of weeks ago, or this one. Obviously that fight didn't happen, the Usyk show, and he got moved to this one. Hassan Nadam, we know him. He's had, like I said, he's had 40 fights, been a solid pro, only lost 3. And we look at who he's lost to, Peter Quillen, David Lemieux, Ryota Murata, yeah, 3 great fighters, good fighters, and we've known him in the past, we're familiar with him, we've had him as a sparring partner for George Groves, and like you say, he's a good fighter and everyone can see that. He's coming off a good win over Martin Murray, and I'd say it's a huge opportunity for him, and I know what type of fighter he is. He's totally professional, always keeps himself in shape, and he'll be looking to make an upset, but that's up to Callum not to be complacent and to go in there and not be in sparring partner mode and go in there. And today he was in what I call bad intentions mode. He was totally focused in it on the pads, hitting sharp, fast, really bubbling today he was, and I'm looking forward to him now Saturday night.
I was just about to come on to that, kind of that sparring partner, not mentality, but when you've shared the ring as a sparring partner, how does that affect preparations? In your capacity as a trainer or as a coach, do you try and convince Callum to completely ignore that, or do you try and utilise what obviously you've seen in the sparring sessions? How does that change the dynamic going into the fight when they've shared the ring together? Yeah,
listen, Hassan Nadam, I'm sure he would have taken stuff from sparring and he'll be going into the fight with his thing. And you've got to understand, a lot of people make a big thing out of sparring. I've seen great sparrers that are terrible fighters come fight night and role reversal, shocking at sparring, but can turn it on fight night. Callum Smith has always delivered on fight night. On the big stage, he always seems to deliver. Whether he's knocking out Rocky Fielding for the British or for the European or George Groves, the bigger the stage, the bigger the platform, he delivers. I don't expect nothing but Callum to be totally, utterly professional in there, and to go in there, like I said before, with bad intentions and to hurt Hassan Nadam maybe. He knows he's been on the end of big shots in sparring. He knows Callum Smith's power. If he's going to stand and engage, I don't think he really will. There's 2 days he can either run for the first half of the fight and then try and come down straight, or he can come and give it a go for the first 5 or 6 rounds. Whichever way, sooner or later he's got to trade, and that's when I expect Callum to catch him.
You mentioned Ryota Murata, David Lemieux, Martin Murray, all good fighters in their own right, but all significantly smaller than Callum Smith. Callum Smith is the biggest 168-pounder out there. Is he under pressure in this fight to not only win, but win well against somebody who is significantly smaller and has already been beaten?
I think it'd be for Martin Murray was a big kid at 168 when he was there. He was caught between 2 weights. Yeah, Lemieux's not a bad fighter, but I think there's pressure on Callum to deliver because he hasn't fought for a while. He is the world champion. The eyes of the world are looking at him, and especially when you have the likes of Canelo mentioning Callum after his last fight, they'll be watching Callum Smith and thinking, is it worth stepping up now? Should we go and try and take the top prize at 168? So yeah, Callum underperforms. I'm sure Canelo will be phoning the next day. I'm sure if he does perform, they'll leave that most probably until next year. So yeah, everyone's got to be watching Callum Smith to see how he performs on Saturday night.
Now, Callum, I've spoken to him at various different points of his career during the frustrating times where he couldn't get the big fights. He ended the series, and even that had its own kind of hiccups along the way with your Bramers, etc., pulling out. Got that marquee fight against George Groves, won the ring title, obviously became world champion, full world champion at the WBA. I think it's fair to say that this isn't the big fight that people were expecting or hoping Callum to go into. Have you sensed any of that from him?
No, not really, but I understand if you look at everyone's first defences of the world titles when they won it, look at Carl Froch's, Tony Bellew's, they weren't hard fights, they're all gimmies. I'm not saying this is a gimme, we're away in foreign soil, we're in America, we're in the Garden, huge platform, an expectation for Callum to deliver and look good delivering, it brings its own type of pressures. But when you look at the Canelos, he's just fought, Triple G's fighting the week after, Badou Jack isn't available to fight. The other super middleweights, Caleb Plant's got a fight, Benavidez has got a fight, so there's no one available to fight the big names, and that's all Callum Smith's interested in, is the big names. I've said to Eddie Hearn, we win this, you go and make that Canelo fight in September. If Canelo Triple G isn't happening in September, then I want Callum Smith in that ring. From what I've been told, that if it isn't Triple G, it's got to be Andrade, but I can't really see Canelo fighting Andrade. I think Canelo would most probably want to fight Callum Smith. The ring number one at 160 versus the ring number one at 168 is a bigger, juicier fight, and Canelo is always pushing the boundaries, and I think that's an opportunity and a risk he's willing to take.
Now, since the last time I caught up with you, well, I think to be fair, Caleb Plant will probably fall in there, but there's been since another new 168-pound champion, Billy Joe Saunders, claimed the WBO super middleweight title against Shifat Sufi. Just want to know your thoughts on the fight. I'm sure you watched it.
No, I didn't, to be honest. I didn't watch it. What was on that night? There was some more boxing.
World Boxing Super Series.
Yeah, I was there in Glasgow. I had Paul Butler on, so yeah, I had Paul. So I had Paul Butler on. So no, I haven't seen it, and I usually don't because I'm also busy. I never watch much fighting unless it's fighters that I'm most probably got to come onto the radar, or there's a fight to be made, or just as a fan, really. But no, I haven't watched it. I believe he won, and like I say, congratulations to him. He's 168. Frank phoned me up a month or two ago inquiring about possibly doing a Billy Joe Callum Smith, and said yeah, we can do that, but can't do it at the moment. Callum Smith's committed for 2 or 3 fights, maybe next year if it's an opportunity and it's a possibility, yeah, then we'll do that. But Callum wants to win it, and he's after the Canelos of the world. That's what he wants, or the unifications. It's a shame Gilberto Ramirez vacated, because everyone's seen him as the number one behind Callum Smith, and we were keen to do that fight. So yeah, Billy Joe's a fight there that we'd be interested in, but it won't be happening this year. As I say, we've got Callum now 2 or 3 fights, and we know where we're going with him, and most probably summertime next year, if that can happen, it'll happen.
If he can't get a Canelo fight, or he can't entice one of the other 168-pound champions into a unification fight, is moving up to 175 pounds kind of the only logical step for Callum getting a big fight?
I think Callum, everyone keeps saying to us he made the weight, but we've weighed him this morning after training, it still has no problem. But 175 is where you'll most probably see all the 168s ending up. Benavidez is big for the weight, do you know what I mean? Ramirez has just moved up. We'll eventually most probably look at moving up, and there's some good fights to be made up there as well. I think Anthony Yardy's got a good chance of beating Kovalev, so that's a huge domestic fight to be had there as well. And yeah, there's a possibility of 175. I've heard Triple G's even considered about going up 2 divisions. So I think eventually, you look at them super welterweights like middleweights, your Charlos and your Herds, they'll all move to middle. Your middles will move to super middle. Your super middles will move up to light heavyweight. I think it's got to be an interesting 12 months coming up.
Okay, and just finally, I do remember that you were in Glasgow because I was there myself. You have to forgive me. Got off a plane not too long ago. Final word on the World Boxing Super Series. I know you've got Paul Butler in the tournament as a reserve. The bantamweights, Noah Inoue, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, has won his last 3 fights against Jamie McDonnell, Payano and Rodriguez in 441 seconds. Is it a shoe-in that he's going to win the tournament?
Joe, I like Donaire. I really like Donaire. I'm surprised how well Donaire made the weight when he fought Ryan Burnett. I was really impressed, and listen, Ryan was unfortunate with his back, but I do feel, back or no back, I think Donaire was got to win that fight that night, and I'm really looking forward to that fight. I knew he was a good fighter. Fair play to Rodriguez, he came out and showed no respect to Inoue and gave him kittens. A lot of people said maybe he won the first round, but when he got in the trade-off, Inoue showed the power that he had. But I think Donaire's cuter than what Rodriguez is. He's a smart fighter, he's been around the block, only the very best have beaten him, and it'll be a huge statement if Inoue could beat Donaire and beat him convincingly.
And the super lightweight final, Josh Taylor against Regis Prograis, another great fight that we've got to look forward to.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I think the location of both fights is very paramount to how it goes. I think obviously Callum had to go to Jeddah this year. I think most probably Josh Taylor, if that went to an America, an LA, or Vegas, that type of fight. I think Donaire and Inoue makes sense to go that part of the world. There'll be superstars over there, aren't there? And obviously the World Boxing Super Series, that's what it was. I think if Josh Taylor's fight is in the UK, I think it makes a bit of a mockery of it, really. I think it should be on neutral ground for both of them, and the same for Inoue and Donaire. Just
final word before I let you get off. On the main event this Saturday, Anthony Joshua against Andy Ruiz. Just break down that fight for me.
Yeah, I think it's Anthony Joshua is always in great shape, turns up well prepared. You were talking about Callum Smith having to make a performance. I think the pressure's on AJ after Deontay Wilder's performance of the week. Tyson Fury's fight in another couple of weeks. And it's great, it reminds us of the super middleweight division years ago where Ben would win and then Eubank would win and then a Michael Watson and Steve Collins. And same here, the baton, it's over to you now, so AJ has to perform, and Ruiz has only lost once to Parker, some thought he'd won. So no, it's a good fight, but I think Anthony Joshua, he's had the big stage, Wembley 80,000. I think Madison Square Garden isn't going to intimidate him at all. I think he's got to do a number. I think the fight will be over in 6-7 rounds.
Okay, well, Joe Gallagher, always a pleasure catching up with you. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you during the week.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Lovely. Cheers, Joe. Nice one.